This video is about model repair. So JewelBeetle has a function where you can create a mesh out of objects that are NURBS or mesh, and especially if you have naked edges or a problem with the model, this will close the model up. The resulting closed model, or watertight solid if you will, is a mesh, so it's not a magic button for bad NURBS geometry unless a mesh is okay. So it's typically for creating an STL to go to 3D printing would be the idea. So here we go. You can go ahead and select everything. It'll disregard gems, or you can right click and pick the layers that you want. You don't have to repair the whole model. If there's just one section, maybe it's a two-tone like this one, you can repair this separately from the shank. So maybe we'll mess around with that. Let's start with the halo and the setting. And I'm going to go ahead and switch to a different layer because the resulting mesh will go to your current layer. So I'm going to go ahead and pick a nice bright one. And if you go to the Tools menu, right over here is a wrench on a ring or model repair. So let's click that. And I'm just going to go ahead and run it, and then I'm going to go through the different options. Okay, so let's go ahead and run it. Running repair. This can take some time. Please wait. So it's really hard to do a status bar and say, okay, it's this far, it's this far, it's this far. So we just say wait. And finished repairing model. And as you can see, there is the mesh right there, the repaired mesh. Let's move that over here just so we can see it. And it's all unioned, and if we come over to show edges, no naked edges, no non-manifold edges, so it's a good part. Okay, so there's that. Let's go through some more of the options. Let's go ahead and just work with the head some more, and we'll go click this again. So delete input. So if you want, maybe you're doing this in sections and you've already saved the model, which I obviously have. So you can say delete input, okay, and it'll delete the input NURBS and we'll just leave you with the mesh, okay. Union result. So you could repair all of these parts individually. So union, no. Let's go ahead and run it with those two options selected. Okay, and there we go. These are all solid meshes, okay, but they're not unioned. And the original or input objects, the NURBS, are gone. Okay. Let's go ahead and select everything. Well, I'll tell you what, let's do this. For the next one, I want to be able to show, let's go ahead and put this on this layer. Okay, select that, click on delete input, sure. Union result, doesn't matter, it's only one thing. Mesh tolerance, I'll come back to this. Simple planes is yes. So if we go ahead and hit go, all right, it creates simple planes, and therefore it's a very efficient mesh. It only does what it needs to maintain the simple planes. Let's go here, and I did undo, and let's do simple planes as no, and let's run it. No change really. It's going to do what it's going to do, and so I'll talk about simple planes more as we go on. So I was kind of expecting that to be a little more simple, but it's not. Okay, let's go to the next section, and I'm going to pick this and this. Okay, or I'll tell you what, let's select the gems and make sure I'm not making stuff up. Okay, so union result, yes. Delete input, sure. Simple planes will say yes. Okay, mesh tolerance 0.002. Now, that is the same setting. Let me actually hit escape, and let's go here, and I'm going to type the command mesh. There's a button for it. I don't want to go get it in the sake of time. Okay, so if we zero this out, and maximum distance edge to surface, if we go 0.002, that's the value that we recommend for making an STL, and that is the value that you'll see in that command line. Now here's simple planes, yes or no, and let's go ahead and say okay, and there's the mesh right there. And so take a good look at this, because this is what our mesh is going to, well, let's go ahead and send it on over here so we can compare. And if we want to see the mesh, we can switch shade modes, but let's go ahead then and select this. So we're going to delete the input, we're going to union the result. Our mesh tolerance is that 0.002. Simple planes is yes. These I never hit go, so these never stayed. And we'll come back to these two here in a moment. And so let's hit go. I could hit pause, but it won't take too long. Okay. Actually, there's no need to click off this. The resulting mesh is selected, so in this case, I can just move it. Oh, well, the NURBS is not there, so no sense moving it either. Let's go to this shade mode. So here we go. If we look at this mesh compared to this mesh, you can see that it is very similar. A little bit different pattern. We did all triangles here, but you can see on the end it's pretty much the same. Okay, with regard to the last two options, that's predominantly for Milgrain. So I'm going to make a sphere, and that sphere is going to be 1.2 millimeters in diameter. Okay, and I'll tell you why here in a moment. So I'm going to select this and go to mesh or model repair, we call this one, and quick Milgrain equals yes. Milgrain count, I have it 5, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and hit enter, and it's going to, I should have delete. I'm going to hit undo, but there it is. There's the resulting little mesh that's very coarse. Okay, let's hit undo, and let's run that again, and delete input is no. And let's make this 10. So the whole idea of this, there's 10. Let's go back and run it again, and let's do 5 so that we can see that one. So there's 5, there's 10. 10's good. If you have a bunch of Milgrain and it's 1.2 millimeters in diameter or smaller, then that setting will take over and affect all that Milgrain, not just one, but whatever you have selected. if your model, let's go here, if your Milgrain is anything over 1.2, I'm going to just do 1.3 and move it over here. All right, so this is 1.3, this is 1.2. If we select this and run model repair and hit go, it does not look like this one where it was set to 5 because it's greater than 1.2. So again, anything smaller. Now you might look at this and go, oh man, that's pretty bad. But especially if this is a bit smaller, let's say it's 1 millimeter or 0.9 or something, having this over on the model, that is within the tolerance typically of what the 3D printers would do. And so there's no sense having a super dense mesh on every single sphere, which will make your model noticeably heavier like this. This is the same setting that's happening to the rest of the model. Okay, and you can see that the simple planes on this straight cylinder, it does big triangles this way, this way, this way, this way, and that's more efficient than covering it, you know, where it has to do a rounded edge. Here it needs way more triangles. So, there you go. That is how that all works. So if we come back, just to reiterate again, we can select all the objects, and when we run it, it will disregard the gems and curves and anything else. So delete input, no. Union result, yes. Mesh tolerance is here. Simple planes, yes. The Milgrain, doesn't matter what this is set at. I don't really have any Milgrain, so it won't go into effect. Okay, didn't take too long. So there is model repair, and there's a solid model.